Western Cape High Court has temporarily blocked the issuing of quotas to hunt 150 elephants, 10 leopards and 10 black rhinos. This comes after the Humane Society International filed a court interdict to stop the Environmental Affairs Department from issuing trophy hunting quotas. The final judgment will be determined in the second part of the case. Let's unpack this further with Tony Gerrans, Executive Director at HSI Africa. Thank you very much, Tony, for joining us this evening. So tell us, first of all, you must be very happy about this verdict, but what essentially has the court decided and what does that mean for these animals?
Thanks, Anli. The court has decided there should be no hunting of these three species until a proper review of the minister's decision to issue a quota to hunt these animals is conducted by the courts. So our litigation is in two parts. The first part, Part A, has suspended the minister's decision to allocate the quota, and in due course, Part B will examine the merits of her decision to issue the quota, after which hopefully we will get a final ruling about whether the trophy hunting industry may go ahead and hunt these animals this year or not.
So why did the court rule that these quotas were invalid and unlawful? What was the basis of that decision as explained by the judge?
Our application asserted that the process that the minister used to pass these quotas was unlawful. We argued that the consultation process that she had followed was defective, that the notice that she had given to the public was also inadequate, and that the deferment of the consultation process and the quota from 2021 into 2022 was also unlawful. We feel that it's in the public's interest that any decision to hunt these threatened and protected species is done transparently, and that the process thus far has not been transparent and the requisite data hasn't been made available to the public, and that is the basis of why we challenged the quotas.
So this isn't the final word on the matter. What happens from here, and is there any room for public comment on this issue?
Henri, we're still waiting for the government's record of decision, which is the body of information that the minister used to make the decision. Once we receive that, then the second part of the litigation will proceed, and the court will review the merits of that quota on the basis of that and other information. So at that point, there is really no further opportunity for the public to comment on the 2022 quotas. But of course, any future quotas that the Minister of Environment might wish to pass for the hunting of these threatened and endangered species is subject to public participation, and certainly the public would have an opportunity to comment during that process.
On what basis is trophy hunting of endangered species justified by the department?
Well, Henri, we think it's not justified at all. We think it is an entirely cruel and unnecessary process. The argument advanced by the trophy hunting industry is that it creates economic benefit and conservation benefit. Our view is that there is no evidence that supports that those benefits exceed the harms that are suffered by the communities of animals and indeed the individual animals that are hunted, and that the minister has a responsibility in terms of the environmental right in the Constitution, which is Section 24, and also the enabling legislation that protects wildlife and which makes hunting of these animals a restricted activity. She has a responsibility, and the department also bears a responsibility to ensure that the costs of this activity do not exceed the benefits. And we don't think that that test has been met, and as a result that there should be no hunting of these endangered and threatened animals.
So you're not against trophy hunting in its entirety, just of endangered species, correct?
We're not against hunting per se, but we think the hunting of threatened and endangered animals simply for the purpose of collecting their trophies is entirely inappropriate in our modern society. We should remember that trophy hunting is not a conservation activity. It's really a sport for wealthy elites to collect animals for personal pride and for competitive purposes. And we don't think that has any place, particularly when these animals are threatened and, in the case of black rhino, critically endangered. We think a sensible conservation process and policy should protect these animals per se, and we should be finding different ways of protecting them in situ, particularly through ecotourism, which is largely incompatible with trophy hunting.
What are the timelines for this case going forward?
We're not sure, Henry. It does depend on when we get the record of decision from the government, but the uniform rules of the court set some deadlines for us going forward, and we expect that the matter should probably be concluded around about July or August this year.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, giving us an update on this matter. That was Tony Gerrans, Executive Director at HSI Africa.